Companies like Salesforce, Adobe, and Figma are all down by at least 40% in the past year. The entire software space has lost around $1 trillion in market cap recently, and the thing getting the most blame is AI. In 2011, a guy named Mark Andreessen wrote a famous article called Why Software is Eating the World. And he was right. Software took over transportation, retail, media, security, and a decade later, AI aggressively shows up again and says, I want a piece of this. One way to think of this AI renaissance, if you want to call it that, is that old software was like selling a drill to a human so they could go ahead and build a cupboard. AI software is like selling a robot contractor. It doesn't give you the drill, it goes and builds the cupboard for you, which sounds way better for customers, but it starts to mess with how a lot of these software companies make money. A lot of software businesses operate on a per seat pricing model. It's like Netflix charging you based on how many people in your house. The more people in your house, the more money Netflix makes. That's how companies like Salesforce grew to be as big as they are today. But AI kind of changes that. AI's job conceptually is to make companies require fewer people to do the same amount of work. So let's say AI makes your support team 30% more efficient. Some companies might decide that they need fewer people because of that. Fewer people means fewer software licenses needed, and so the software company makes less money. And with what feels like agent co-workers being upgraded every week, investors get nervous. Not because the tech is perfect, but because the old pricing used for software gets weird. It's become a little bit more difficult to value software companies because of AI. There's of course the argument that AI isn't even that good. It still hallucinates, it's not the best programmer, it still gets things wrong, so you have to spend time double checking everything it tells you. Anyway, but the truth is, AI doesn't have to be perfect to put a dent in a business model. If AI can make workers 10%, even 5% more efficient, in companies that shrink teams because of that efficiency, that can mean fewer paid seats to software companies. I like to draw comparisons to self-checkouts in supermarkets. Self-checkouts aren't perfect even after all these years. And whilst they can be irritating to use, stores are still going to install them because they can run with fewer workers needed. Bad but cheaper is still a mindset, and it can still change the economics. Where things get a bit too dramatic, in my opinion, is when people start claiming AI will replace all software companies, which I don't think is true. Software is a huge range of businesses and they're affected by different things. There are two high-level sections or groups you can categorize some of these software tools as. The first is a workflow wrapper, which are just tools that help humans to do tasks, your basic dashboards, scheduling apps and whatnot. Helpful stuff, but the kind of thing AI can automate or absorb pretty easily. The other group is where the real business truth lives. Customer databases, financial ledgers, the system of records. These systems aren't easy to replace with a chatbot prompt because AI needs that data to function. AI doesn't own the data, these systems do. So what is actually changing? I think it's more companies transitioning from a mindset to where they say, here's some software, good luck, into tell us the outcome that you want and our AI will help get it done. In some cases, that means co-pilots inside the tools you already use. In others, it means usage-based pricing or credits, or even paying per task completed instead of per employee. Now, that doesn't mean software disappears. It means the value shifts. Tools that are basically just fancy dashboards or a thin workflow that layers something underneath, those software applications are under more pressure because AI can automate a lot of what they do. But systems of records, the places where core data lives, the infrastructure that the business actually runs on, aren't so easy to replace. And in many cases, AI heavily depends on those systems. It doesn't compete with them. So the real story isn't AI is killing software, it's that AI is changing how software gets priced, packaged, and delivered. Seat-based pricing probably matters less over time, especially where AI is doing more of the actual work, but we're still early on and most companies are figuring this out in real time. Some will adapt, some won't, and I think it's that uncertainty that makes investors uncomfortable. Investors tend to sell first and wait for clarity later. Eventually though, I do think companies that prove they can turn AI into real revenue, not just cool demos, are the ones that get rewarded, as we've seen with Meta already. This isn't software dying, it's software growing up into something a little closer to digital labor, with humans still very much in the loop, but they do less of the practical work.